Russia has made a public statement regarding its uncertain future in Syria, particularly concerning two critical military bases, the naval base in Tartus and the Hmeimim Air base, both of which have been integral to Russia's military operations in the region. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed that no final decisions have been made about the future of these military installations in Syria following the ouster of former President Bashar Al-Assad and the collapse of his government. Peskov emphasized that Russia is still in communication with the newly formed administration in Syria, which emerged after rebel forces toppled Assad's regime earlier this month, and that discussions regarding the status of these strategic locations are ongoing. The situation surrounding Russia's military presence in Syria is pivotal not only because of the direct military assets involved, but also because of the geopolitical stakes. Russia has maintained a significant military and diplomatic presence in Syria for more than a decade, ever since its intervention in 2015, which tilted the balance of the Syrian civil war in favor of Assad. The Tartus naval base, the only Russian naval facility in the Mediterranean, has been a cornerstone of Russia's influence in the region. Tartus serves as a key logistics hub, providing access to the Mediterranean and serving as a point from which Russian naval forces can project power. Similarly, the Hmeimim Air Base, a crucial site for Russia's air operations, has been instrumental in Moscow's air support for Assad's regime, playing a major role in the eventual defeat of opposition forces. These bases, however, face an uncertain future following the fall of Assad's regime, which has historically been Russia's most important ally in the Middle East. Despite the collapse of Assad's government, Russian officials have stated that they are still maintaining contact with Syria's new leadership, suggesting that Moscow is exploring a way to preserve its strategic interests in the country even as political dynamics shift. In particular, Russia's desire to retain its military assets in Syria is clear, but the willingness of the new rebel-led administration to continue hosting Russian forces remains unknown. Rebel leaders, particularly Abu Muhammad al-Golani, head of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, have been careful in their rhetoric toward Moscow, signaling a desire to avoid antagonizing the Kremlin. Al-Golani has publicly stated that his group seeks to avoid provoking Russia, which may be seen as an attempt to secure Russian neutrality or cooperation in the power vacuum left by Assad's departure. For Russia, Syria has long been a crucial part of its broader Middle Eastern strategy. The Tartus base provides Moscow with a valuable foothold in the Mediterranean, while Hmeimim has supported the Russian military's air operations not only in Syria but also in broader regional engagements. Russia's intervention in Syria was a bold move aimed at asserting its influence in the Middle East, countering Western and NATO-backed interventions, and strengthening its strategic relationships with countries like Iran and Hezbollah. The base in Tartus, in particular, symbolizes Russia's ability to project power in a region that has traditionally been dominated by the United States and its allies. The potential loss of these military outposts would be a major blow to Russian ambitions in the region, diminishing its ability to project power into the Mediterranean and weaken its leverage in relations with Iran and other Middle Eastern actors. However, the fall of Assad has changed the calculus for Russia. While Moscow has enjoyed close ties with the Assad regime, maintaining these bases without Assad's government in power presents significant logistical and political challenges. The new rebel-led government in Syria, which has yet to fully consolidate control and establish stability, may see Russia as a convenient partner but could also be hesitant to allow Moscow to maintain a substantial military footprint in the country. The uncertain future of these bases comes after a major diplomatic and logistical operation by Russia, which evacuated its diplomatic personnel as well as those of Belarus and North Korea from Syria. A special Russian Air Force flight was dispatched to carry out the evacuation, signaling the heightened concerns surrounding the stability of the region and the safety of Russian nationals and assets. Despite the evacuation, Russian officials have stressed that their diplomatic mission in Syria remains functional, with the embassy in Damascus continuing to operate, albeit under more challenging conditions. The diplomatic and military uncertainty surrounding Russia's position in Syria is a reflection of broader changes in the geopolitical landscape. Moscow's ability to influence the future of Syria will likely depend on its relationships with other key actors in the region, such as Iran, Turkey, and Israel. Russia has worked closely with Iran in Syria, where both countries have supported Assad's regime, While Turkey has at times been an adversary to both Syria and Russia, particularly in the context of their competing interests in northern Syria. Israel has also closely monitored Russia's military presence in Syria, particularly with respect to Iranian and Hezbollah activity in the region, and Moscow's ability to balance these complex relationships will be critical as it seeks to maintain its position in Syria. The broader Middle Eastern context is equally important in understanding Russia's strategic decision-making in Syria. The political changes in Syria are part of a larger shift in the region, where long-standing alliances are being tested, and new powers are emerging. While Russia's intervention in Syria was initially seen as a bold assertion of influence, the recent developments suggest that Moscow may now be recalibrating its approach to maintain its regional power while avoiding being dragged into the internal conflicts of a post-Assad Syria. The continued instability in Syria poses a risk not only for Russia but for the broader region, and the future of Moscow's military bases in Syria will depend on the political trajectory of the new Syrian administration. In conclusion, Russia's military presence in Syria remains a critical element of its strategy in the Middle East, but the fall of Assad has opened a new chapter of uncertainty. Moscow's ability to retain control over its strategic bases in Tartus and Hmeimim will depend on its interactions with the new Syrian administration, the evolving dynamics of regional power, and the broader geopolitical landscape. The situation remains fluid, and Russia's decisions in the coming months will have lasting implications for its role in Syria and its influence in the Middle East.